Happening right now, Governor Gavin Newsom is in Mendocino County addressing the state's current drought conditions. Let's listen in.
Passed a resolution yesterday calling on a drought, basically declaring a drought situation here to protect our residents, our farmers, the ranchers, the vintners, and our local economy in general. Protecting our environment and the Russian River are at stake, and let us not forget we are approaching wildfire season, as we know from the fire that I saw coming over here this morning. I want to thank the governor for quick action on publish the executive order, which he's going to talk about a little later. These actions are critical to our ability for our agricultural operations to receive the financial assistance they're going to need throughout the process. You know, and as devastating as you see this ground here, this is also emblematic of what you're going to see with wells along the river, with farmers that are going to be trying to water their crops, with people who live along the river who are going to try to have water for their home, for potable water. This is just the tip of the iceberg here. So conservation moving forward, working with our partners at the state, with the Army Corps, and our local partners are absolutely critical. And I thank you for being here today. I want to turn this over to my partner in the legislature, Senator Mike McGuire.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I want to take a moment to say thank you for Assemblymember Wood's tenacious leadership on behalf of the North Coast. We are grateful that the governor is here in Mendocino County today. We want to recognize four Mendocino County supervisors, the home district supervisor, Supervisor McGordy. We have Supervisor Williams, Supervisor Haschak from the Mendocino, from the city of Ukiah. Lake Mendocino is the canary in the coal mine when it comes to California's drought. The alarm is sounding, and it couldn't be louder. What you see around us on why the governor brought us here, it's part of our immediate future, not just for the North Coast, but throughout the Golden State. And working with the governor, we must take immediate action, not just for those who are in rural, vulnerable communities, but also for endangered species, as well as those who are part of our agricultural community. We need to mobilize to help the Golden State's hard farmers and ranchers and farm workers, along with businesses and endangered species that will be impacted by reduced stream flows due to the drought. And let's be candid, while California's climate has always been variable, the last couple of decades has seen some of the hottest on record here in the Golden State. We know that the climate crisis in California even more intense. And luckily, the Golden State is in a unique position to move with speed to respond to this latest crisis. We're gearing up for a hell of a fire season, which will be made worse by record low moisture levels in our forests and wildlands due to this drought. Working hand in hand with Governor Newsom, $536 million is now moving into communities in every corner of this state, focused on expanding fire prevention, preparedness, and response. And this early budget action will put more boots on the ground, more engines on the fire line, and allow the state to be able to focus on thousands of acres of more forest that will be managed to become more fire resilient. And we're also moving with speed in partnership with the governor to help this state respond to the drought, to counter what we see here on the North Coast and what we know is coming this summer and fall for the rest of California. We're going to be working with Governor Newsom in the Assembly. The Senate is led by Senate President Atkins, that will be focusing on a $2 billion plus budget package that will be laser focused on drought response for smaller, lower income communities, for homeowners that want to transition from lawns to drought resilient landscaping, for farmers and ranchers, and of course to cities and counties and water agencies that need to be more focused on water quality, endangered species protection, as well as water recycling. Finally, there is no other governor. There has been no other governor that has been faced with a number of crises than what Governor Newsom has been having to stare down over his first 2 years in office. He has been faced with catastrophic wildfires. He's been faced with power shutoffs, a global pandemic, and now this drought. And I think we need to be honest here on the North Coast. He's been active, he's been engaged, and he's been delivering for us every step of the way, especially in rural California. He's been helping us lead through our darkest days, and we're honored that he's here today in Mendocino County. Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, Senator Grant. Thank you, Assemblymember Wood, Dr. Wood, and Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. Members of the Board of Supervisors, very grateful, honored to be here, that you're here as well, and to our dream team, which I'll introduce to you in a moment, as I referred to them, of experts and historians as well as practitioners on all things water policy and drought, representing various agencies in the state. I'm standing currently 40 feet underwater, or should be standing 40 feet underwater, save for this rather historic moment. And we say historic oftentimes we overstate the word historic, but this is indeed an historic moment, certainly historic for this particular lake, Mendocino.
Watching Cron On, streaming now from Cron 4, the Bay Area's local news station.
Happening right now, Governor Gavin Newsom is in Mendocino County addressing the state's current drought conditions. Let's listen in.
Anyways, California is doing a little bit better than some of the other Western states. And I don't say that lightly. I say that quite specifically. We have a Western States Collaborative that was established through this pandemic, and we're engaging in a consistent basis, not only exchanging best practices and ideas to address the issues of COVID, but also now beginning to transition those conversations on sharing best practices as it relates to droughts and managing under these difficult and challenging environments. We're year 2 into this drought. I want to put that in perspective. It was year 2 that then Governor Jerry Brown in 2013 in May announced a similar action to the action that I'm taking. That was the second year of what became a 5-year drought in the state of California, 2012 to 2016. We've barely been out of those drought conditions, and here we are entering back in to these drought conditions. As the governor did in 2013, we'll be organizing a similar strategy on the basis of his experience and the experience of the team that was also representing the Brown administration during that last drought, that is here advising us on this drought in their formal roles in various departments. We'll be advancing a executive order today around drought preparation, and we will be declaring in a targeted manner a drought emergency here in Mendocino County and in Sonoma counties. We have an emergency declaration, an emergency order that allows us to build, an executive order that allows us to build in an iterative manner as conditions persist and present themselves, to add other counties to that list as necessary. But we are taking a sequential approach, we're taking a targeted approach, and we're taking an approach based upon actual conditions on the ground. Again, California, many parts, one body, not just the water system. And we have to recognize the distinctive issues that persist in various parts of the state of California. This action follows a series of actions the state has been taking over the course of the last many, many months. In November of last year, we dusted off our drought task force. We organized and convened an internal team represented by the folks you see on your left, on my right, that began the process of looking at strategies as it relates to easing our regulatory framework, making available strategies and techniques to address in real time the changing conditions that were anticipated, even as far back as November, in the beginning of the rainy season, that would lead us here today. We also did not hesitate, going back over a year, to put out a new vision for water management. I identified a problem, but we also identified over 100 specific actionable strategies and solutions to address the needs of a changing environment, address the needs that we need to advance as it relates to climate change. We put out a new water portfolio strategy, a new vision for water management in the state of California. Hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, regional, state, federal partners, as well as private, as well as philanthropic support. We put that water portfolio strategy out. We put it out for public review. We got an enormous amount of input, and we formalized our drought with an official report that was put out a number of months ago. I encourage people to take a look at that report, those that are looking for concrete strategies and solutions on issues from groundwater replenishment to conjunctive use to issues of storage in all its forms in manifestations, above ground and below ground, water recycling, toilet to tap strategies, issues around efficiency and conservation, and new flex strategies that are incorporated, many of those ideas and principles, in the emergency proclamation that we are putting out today, in this executive action that we are putting out today, mindful of the environment, watersheds, ecology, natural resources, as well as mindful of human condition, as well as economic conditions for farmers and ranchers, for growers of all types. And so that comprehensive strategy is set the tone for us, a strategy that architects our future-facing efforts. That strategy has also been financed, and this is important to note. Because of leadership, the two members of the legislature, leadership of the team that is here assembled, and the people of the state of California. A bond was passed a number of years ago. $7.3 billion has been appropriated. $7.3 billion since the last drought has been appropriated for the all of the above strategy, including, by the way, $2.5 billion on 7 large storage projects in the state. In total, those storage projects that have been financed, or at least with $2.5 billion of appropriation, have an equivalent in the aggregate storage capacity of Lake Oroville at capacity. And I'm mindful of that because I'm mindful of the rhetoric when it comes to droughts and the ideology that shapes opinions around droughts. We are not ideological about our approach. We're very pragmatic about our approach. And that's why I reference and reinforce the $2.5 billion that was set aside for storage projects, including a site not far away from here, sites, an above-ground storage facility that's off stream that is well underway still in need of further financial support. As was noted by the senator, financial support is not just limited to the $7.3 billion that's already been appropriated over the course of the last number of years. We will be substantially increasing our financial support to address the needs of the drought and communities' needs, including safe drinking water, access to reliable, safe, affordable drinking water for small and rural communities, as well as underserved communities. We'll be advancing more support in those efforts to build on what the Senate recently put out, to build on what the Assembly likely will put out in the next number of days. I can assure you in my May revise, which is just a few weeks away, we will be putting substantial resources to continue to advance the cause of making the capital improvements that are necessary to prepare for a resilient future. Droughts are not unique to California, quite the contrary. You cannot go back to a state of the state of any previous governor and not have a state of the state include substantially issues related to droughts and forest fires. It's by no means unique or distinctive, quite the contrary. It's part of this Mediterranean state that we live in. It's a big part of why California is as beautiful and spectacular a state as it is. What is different now is the extremes. What's different now is the climate-induced impacts of these droughts. And that's what we need to hit head on. We need to deal with the underlying issues related to climate change. This is, after all, Climate Week, and no state in America has taken more aggressive and progressive and sustained leadership as it relates to low-carbon green growth and changing the way we produce energy than the state of California. So we're mindful of that in the medium and short run, and our responsibility to set the pace for the rest of the country, and for that matter, in the absence of what we've experienced the last 4 years, even international leadership. But we also are mindful of the situational responsibilities to do more and do better and provide flexibility so that we can meet the needs of 40 million Californians and not pit rural versus urban, not pit north versus south, region to region. This is California. We are Californians. And we won't play into that frame. I, at least, as long as I'm here, won't play into that frame. To me, those are the old binaries. And we got to get out of that mindset. That's why we're pursuing voluntary agreements in this state. Won't bore you with what that is, but it's important. I want to end these water wars. We're working very closely with the Biden administration to do just that. That's why we're working collaboratively now, not lawsuits, not closed fists, but open hands with the Biden administration, including Secretary Vilsack, who we were on conference call with a week or so ago, including the Interior Secretary, multiple conversations over the course of the last number of weeks to work on these partnerships anew and address some of these old lawsuits and these old binaries that continue to persist in our state. So we're in a remarkable moment. We're experiencing drought conditions throughout the vast majority of state. Today, we are advancing a drought emergency declaration in 2 counties in the state. We have the ability to flex up in real time based upon an iterative mindset and a focus to deal with changing conditions as they take shape. The other actions in this very long executive order allow for the team here from Fish and Game, Department of Water Resources, our state agencies from Food and Ag, as well as Natural Resource Agency and the leaders that are assembled here. Allow them more flexibility, more planning, more resources, and more of a resourceful mindset in terms of engagement and collaboration. Recently, and I'll close, recently we also did something else. Interestingly, didn't get a lot of attention, but I think deserves some attention.
Watching Chron On. We'll have more news for you coming up after the break.